background, just in terms of faith leaders. Like, I think about this idea that we just lost Desmond Tutu,
Yeah.
who, and I want to hear some of your reflections and from your time, if I can kind of pivot it for in our last few minutes here. But he's someone who was deeply entrenched in this notion of a broken kind of society being put together with a spiritual revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something to me that is so poignant. Can I ask you to maybe reflect on some of that? Because I think that there's a lot that faith leaders can draw from with respect to his example. But can you talk about that question and reflection with that question in sort of with consideration to your own personal history with the Archbishop and how it ties into what we're talking about with this notion of reconciliation.
You were forever the reporter, Darren, that you turned this on me. I will say
I
this
can't help it.
right, and then, but yeah, but what you're pointing to here, and I think you're right in that Archbishop Tutu and what went on in South Africa becomes, in many ways, an example for good and for bad in terms of South Africa, because what drove the Archbishop was indeed this belief that, of course, we are called to a more just future, if you will, and this belief in the sacredness of each and every human being. And therefore, it's our task to create the kind of world and society in which people's sacredness is respected, right? Yet also recognizing, as he often said, that human beings have the greatest capacity for good and the greatest capacity for evil.
Mm.
And so, even as one would talk about our moral responsibility and what you called a spiritual kind of revolution, that wasn't abstract. That had to play itself out in history. And that's why we saw in what one of the things that we can learn, first of all, is yes, something about our moral responsibility, who we are as human beings, and the best of who we are as human beings. Our humanity is caught in trying to create this kind of a society where everyone can live into their sacredness. But the other thing they did, Darren, and this is the moment we're at in this country, is that in Tutu recognized, and indeed Mandela, who called for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And Archbishop Tutu was put in charge of that because he was that moral embodiment, is that you can't get to the point of reconciliation until you begin to tell the truth
Absolutely.
about that which has divided you.
Mm-hmm.
And the injustice. And indeed, that reconciliation is the step after it occurs when you've created justice. If there's justice, then a nation is to be reconciled, but that can't happen. And so what we see in our country is this refusal to live into and to tell the